What are the pros and cons of mixing on headphones, and how can we bring DAW recordings to life? Let's talk about it.
Hi everybody, welcome to Tidalwave Afterwork, the music production podcast. We have new questions for you, so let's dive in.
We have a question from Dennis.
Hi Dennis.
Dennis wants to know, what is your take on mixing in headphones? How much of your mixing time do both of you spend on headphones compared to speakers? And what would be your advice for someone who can't afford nice speakers or a place to set them up? Thank you.
That's a great question. That's a great question because it affects so many people out there who don't have like a treated room and anything. I had like my headphone time where I was mixing almost, although I have like really nice speakers and a good room and everything, I had so much fun working on headphones. I used the Biodynamic DT770, which is like a closed back headphone, and I did complete mixes where I just in the end put it on the speakers just to confirm if I was cool or not, and I really enjoyed it. But I must say that I later kind of upgraded my speakers and I found new pleasure on working on the speakers, and my mixes were better after that. Better. Because headphones, although they're really nice, especially if your room is not treated, and you may get like a good bass response, which maybe small speakers, if you only have small speakers, would not represent. It has some tricky aspects. The first of which is that you really have like this very clear isolation from left to right. So if you have, for example, a guitar pan to the right and you listen to this on the headphones, it just sounds completely different as if you would listen to the same thing on speakers. Yeah. So the center of your, like the phantom center, which would usually be between the speakers, is right in the center of your head, which can just mess up the way in which you perceive like the depth and the width of a stage that you try to create in a mix. And it could be that you think that your stage is great and then you listen to it on speakers and it doesn't sound the same or not great anymore. At least whatever you do, if you want to listen only on headphones, either do this and then check it in real life on actual pair of stereo speakers, or use what, for example, Slate VSX, I think they are called, use. There are like simulations of actual control rooms or listening environments or cars or whatever that you can put as a simulation on your headphones, so that you put out this like phantom center out of your head in front of you, that you get like the simulation of a room, which feels a little bit more like what you would hear if you were listening in a actual control room.
Mm-hmm. Right now I'm working more in headphones. I just prefer it, but I think the thing Patrick says, I made the effort to compare and check what my typical issues are, and I try to see if there are repetitive things. So if I mix, let's say, 10 songs over a span of time and I do it mostly on headphones, I compare and see what always maybe the problem areas are, and if they are somewhat the same no matter what genre or song. And I think what I found for myself is this missing phantom center thing, at least in my case, mostly leads to my vocal level being a little bit wacky before I put it on speakers or listen somewhere else or reference. So I think sonically I'm always happy, but for some reason the vocal level is something that my brain seems to have trouble with getting it right. On headphones, I fool myself into it feeling good, and then when I come in the next day and I listen on speakers or listen somewhere else, I'm like, it's not right. But I'm fine with it because I know it. Because I made the effort to find this out about myself. I now know how to counteract it.
Yeah.
And I think that's...
If you can do this intuitively, then it's okay. But if you have like to activate extra brain cells just to think about, okay, this and that doesn't work on headphones, I have to work around it, then it's suboptimal. The thing is with headphones, they are very forgiving oftentimes, because it's like the bass feels so solid and so fat. And if you would listen to this on a pair of speakers, maybe they would already start to fart. And the thing is that I see this for myself. I really love listening on headphones, and I like to crank them. And I tend to listen on headphones much louder, at a much louder volume than I would on speakers. So maybe this is also you risk to get more ear fatigue over the course of a day, and you risk to get like hearing loss maybe if you just crank the headphones all the time. So I would recommend this. If you can have a set of actual speakers in a real room, use them for the heavy lifting of all your mix decisions, like balance and the overall stage and like the depth and the width and all that stuff. And if your room is not treated, then maybe use headphones to check like the low end, because they often just go down to 20 hertz or something. You really can listen to what's going on down there, and your speakers may not even show you. And of course, using headphones, you just put the bad room acoustics out of the equation, because there are no acoustics inside, no room acoustics inside of headphones. That's the thing. Another, just a tip that just comes to my mind is, if you really love to use headphones, really make sure that they are always in top shape. Because one thing is, if, for example, the headphones get loose so that they don't sit tightly on your head anymore, and if your ear pads start getting if they start losing their consistency and everything, it really affects the low end especially. You really have to try this. Just take your headphones, listen, and then press them a little bit tighter on your ears, and you will see like a big boost in low end. So just imagine if they start getting loose and you lose low end, and you're always mixing too bass heavy just because you think bass is lacking. So if you use headphones, really take care of them and replace the ear pads on a regular basis, and check if they still sit tightly on your head.
I would also add one last thing, because I think this is the general thing that we always say about a lot of questions, is just...
It depends.
It depends. No, but just referencing is even bigger. And referencing to either, like, if you really have no means, if there's no chance to get speakers, you can't afford them, you don't have the space, whatever it is, if there's just absolutely no way to put up speakers and you have to do it in headphones, I think referencing other tracks, listening to a lot of music on those speakers, so you just calibrate your ears over a long period of time of this. If it sounds normal to my ears on those headphones, that I'm at least 30% closer to what it should be in the end, like the end result. And also reference, like in the old days, like do the car or whatever. Just if you don't have the means to do it on speakers, as Patrick said, which would be awesome, find other ways to reference and double check your decisions.
Yeah.
Don't just stay in like mixing this one song for 8 hours on these pair of headphones with no reference tracks and on no other device, and then be like, done, I'm gonna send this to someone. This is a bad idea.
It's a bad idea, yeah. Okay.
Cool.
I think that pretty much summed everything up.
Yes, Dennis.
Hope that helped. Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, next question is from Fabrice Molitor.
Hey.
Hi, Fabrice. I'm struggling to make my tracks sound exciting, even though the performances are good. How can I improve this? I immediately have to think about like raw pictures that are flat and lifeless. You take a picture with your phone. Oh, the sky is the sundown is so nice. You take a picture and it's like, oh, that's disappointing. Where are the colors that I see in real life?
And the depth and everything.
And this is, and I know the same struggle from all this video editing thing. That it's really hard to get like the vibrance that you are used from top-notch productions. But the thing is, a raw recording is a raw recording, and it just usually needs some work to get it to pop.
I mean, this is really a question that could have I would say, a ton of different answers or way to go, because there's just a lot of things you can do. I would say if we assume that there's a recording and the performance is fine, and you did, let's say, the quick first, whatever it is, half an hour of just a basic like static mix, where you get to this point of, okay, let's say it's a band, the kick drum is good, the snare is good, the drums are good, the guitar, blah 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 blah. Like it works, but it's not exciting. But the signals sound good. A big thing, which we just talked about in an episode, is automating, muting, thinking about arrangement, questioning what is there, because a picture compared to a song or movie has a time frame. So you just don't want to get bored to hell before the first chorus hits. So
we need more drama.
Yeah, oftentimes, like, I try to give like an actual example of what I would think. If I have a song to mix and it's more or less the same instrumentation throughout the whole song, and it has like an intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus section, for example, and the chorus, just from a musical standpoint, tells me I want to be exciting, I want to be emotional. Hello, I'm the chorus. I want to be big and fantastic and sparkly. Try to get this as sparkly as possible, and then maybe work backwards and look for things that you can take away. EQ the kick drum different in the verse. Put some risers in the pre-chorus. Like, maybe even add some like post-production stuff yourself to chop up a cymbal, lengthen it, reverse it. Those kind of like effectsy stuff and things that are not jumping at you, but they're subtle. And they're happening more like in the background, but it kind of creates this fake anticipation towards the chorus that wasn't there when the drummer's just going beat, 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 fill in, beat, 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 beat. So there's nothing, there's no journey there. So I think, yeah, sometimes you have to draw in the drama by seeing what is the biggest you can get. And if you can't go bigger than that, make other stuff smaller.
If everything is big, then everything is small.
Exactly, yeah. I think this is like my first like go-to at what comes to my mind.
But that's interesting, because you first jump onto like the drama over time, like the build of a song. I thought, like, if I think like just like if you take a picture and it's like flat and not exciting, just like the general sonic thing. Yeah. So what really helps is like, let's say, 3 components that you all have heard of is like EQ, compression, and reverbs and effects, stuff like this. So EQ, oftentimes a raw recording is mid-rangey, it lacks the sparkle, so you often have good luck with putting a little bit of high end so that it shines a little bit more than the raw flat recording. The same goes to instruments that can handle low end, like a bass drum, a bass, adding a little bit of 50, 60 hertz or something, like adding a gentle smiley curve, like a little bit less mids, a little bit more highs, a little bit more lows, often goes a long way. So it just feels more exciting. We tend as humans to hear the mid-range louder than the bass and the treble anyway. Maybe you know this loudness button on the home's hi-fi systems. It's like if you're listening at low volume, you only hear the mid-range. So the loudness button just boosts bass and high end just to make it more enjoyable to listen to at low volumes. So this is the thing with EQ, like just enhancing the nice stuff a little bit and maybe removing a little bit the more card boxy or the more unexciting stuff. But don't exaggerate. Then compression is a thing that, especially with the listening habits that we have nowadays in 2025, is like we are used to the sound of compression, and compression just adds. Yeah. It adds sound, it adds density, it adds groove. If you play with like attack and especially release time, that it's like dancing with the groove. This is something that if you have just like the flat recording, there are like even if it's well played, there are like spikes where you don't want them, and there's maybe a little flat where you want it to be a little bit more present. So compression really adds to really spice up everything. It's just making out of a loose something, it's making a kind of a power ball, if you know what I mean. And then, of course, all the reverb stuff, because if let's say you have a band and everything is flat and dry, so everything is happening on the same, in the same, how do you say, plane.
Yeah.
Everything is equally distant to the listener. But what you want is, you want depth. So maybe you want to put this one element far in the back room. How do you achieve this? Why? With adding some reverb, with a little bit of, only just a tiny bit of pre-delay. Or sometimes you want something to be in front, but have the impression of having a big room to the back. So there you would maybe use more delays or like reverbs with a large pre-delay, so that the signal comes first and then the room answer comes much later, and giving you the impression of a big room without losing the signal in front. Stuff like this, it really helps like to build a big stage instead of having everything flat and boring on one line. And then if you add all this automation goodness and ear candy and like softer verses, louder chorus sections, then you also get like the emotional drama over time. And if you combine all of this, then voila.
It's not boring anymore.
It's not boring anymore. So hope that helps. I think that's...
Yeah, that covers everything.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Happy mixing. See you next week.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.